Welcome to this session focusing on trauma awareness and working with older lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, transgender or intersex people, or people with other sexual orientations, gender diversity or bodily diversity. Older LGBTI plus people. To begin this session, we would like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the lands we are on and pay respect to elders of these lands, both past and present. It always was and always will be Aboriginal land that was never ceded. Introducing myself, Pauline Cremeri from VEL's LGBTI Ageing and Aged Care, and my colleague, Catherine Whitney from Bolton, Clarke. Together we have developed this session as a collaborative sector support and development project between Bolton Clarke and VEL's LGBTI Ageing and Aged Care to support Commonwealth Home Support Program, CHSP services and aged care services more broadly. This session will provide information about trauma awareness in community aged care to support your work with older people and aged care sector requirements. It will highlight the experiences of older LGBTI plus people accessing care and support the delivery of trauma-aware care. Please note, throughout this session, we will use the acronym LGBTI+. The acronym reflects the identities and definitions included in the Aged Care Act and sector policy, specifically older lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, transgender or intersex people or other sexual orientations or are gender diverse or bodily diverse, LGBTI+. We recognise that older people may use a range of ways to describe themselves and their identities, so please be guided by them. Both Bolton Clarke and VEL's LGBTI Ageing and Aged Care are part of the National Sector Support and Development Program. We are supported by the Australian Government, Department of Health, Disability and Ageing. Although funding for our program has been provided by the Australian Government, the material and information contained in this session does not necessarily represent the views or policies of the Australian Government.
The session today will cover the following areas. Trauma-aware practice is intentionally about how workers are trauma-aware for their own well-being, as well as organisations taking care of their workforce. In this session, we are introducing and describing trauma awareness as an element of person-centred care. Trauma-aware care is an obligation that is outlined in the Aged Care Act and the strengthened aged care quality standards. Aged care providers and their workforce must understand trauma awareness and put it into practice in all care settings. In addition to outlining trauma-aware care and working with all older people, we will include information about the importance of supporting people with diverse life experiences or backgrounds. The community of focus in this session is older LGBTI plus people and how their lifelong experiences of social stigma and discrimination may impact their access to aged care services and the need for aged care services to not only be inclusive but trauma aware. While we will provide an overview of their historical experiences, we encourage you to attend one of VEL's free monthly online training sessions if you would like a more detailed understanding of their experiences and needs and more information about the aged care sector obligations regarding person-centred inclusive care. We have developed details of additional information, training and resources regarding trauma awareness to further support your understanding and practice. More information on that later in the session. A trauma-aware approach recognises and supports both the experiences of older people and those involved in their care and the well-being of aged care workers. This is an acknowledgement that talking about trauma awareness can raise issues, thoughts, and feelings for us all. In listening today, your own responses, feelings, and boundaries are valid and important. Please feel free to step back, pause, or choose your level of participation at any time. If needed, seek support from a manager, GP, or trusted person. Also note further supports will be listed in the resources attached to this session. Trauma awareness, as it relates to the broader statement, culturally safe, trauma-aware and healing-informed practice, is described throughout the Aged Care Act and the strengthened aged care quality standards. Under the Act, we are obliged to understand evidence and continuous improvement. These concepts have been part of aged care and health and human services for a long time. In this session, we want to help you think in an intentional way that culturally safe, trauma-aware, and healing-informed practice are an explicit extension of our understanding of person-centred care. Specifically, this session will highlight what it means to plan and deliver trauma-aware, inclusive and accessible care for older LGBTI+ people and their community more broadly. Working with older LGBTI+ people in community aged care requires an understanding that many people in this community have lived through periods of significant social stigma, discrimination, exclusion, and abuse. These experiences have long-lasting impacts and may influence how confident and safe a person feels when accessing services today. Why trauma awareness matters as part of person-centred care. Trauma is not always visible, but it can show up in hesitation to engage, fear of disclosure, distrust of services, or heightened anxiety in care interactions. Without a trauma-aware approach, services can unintentionally re-trigger these past trauma experiences. When we work in a trauma-aware way, older LGBTI+ people are more likely to feel safe and welcome, trust staff and services, disclose information about their identity and preferences concerning their care needs, and engage confidently and consistently with their care. A key message to remember is, just as supporting independence and a strength-based approach is how we've understood person-centred care in the past, now trauma awareness is a key element of how we work in a person-centred way. It is an essential consideration or intention to assist an older person to feel physically and emotionally safe in that moment, and that they have their control and decision-making power within their care experience. Let's talk about what is trauma in a little more detail. Trauma is the emotional and psychological impact of experiences that felt overwhelming, frightening, unsafe, or deeply distressing. Trauma may result from a single event, such as violence, abuse, an accident, or natural disaster, for example. Repeated or ongoing experiences, such as neglect, racism, discrimination, family violence, institutional care, chronic stress, or feeling unheard and or powerless. It is important to remember that trauma is not defined by the event itself, but by the person's experience of that event. Trauma experiences can make people feel unsafe, out of control, or like they've lost power or agency in making decisions. Two people can live through the same or similar situations and be affected in very different ways and at different times. Why is trauma awareness important in community aged care? Trauma is common, and many older people have experienced significant events across their lifetime. Many older people have experienced multiple traumatic events through their lives. A reminder again, the cause of trauma is not the focus of our awareness. Trauma awareness for us as aged care workers means that we understand that many older people have experienced trauma, loss, grief, or other difficult events as we've just described. And because of understanding and awareness, the way we provide care matters. We must work in ways that promote safety, trust, choice, dignity, and control, recognizing that feeling powerless, unheard, rushed, judged, or excluded can remind people of past trauma and affect their access and engagement in care as well as their overall well-being. Trauma-aware practice is about helping people to feel respected, informed, included, and in control of the care that affects them. Trauma awareness in our roles is absolutely not about diagnosing trauma or providing counselling or therapy. Rather, it is about understanding that a person's reactions, their preferences or behaviours may be shaped by past experiences of harm, fear or loss, and our role is to ensure that they can feel as safe as possible. That is, not to be re-traumatised by feelings that remind them of past trauma. Let's put some of these concepts into practice on the next slide. Trauma awareness in your practice can look like this. Number 1, ask permission. Is it okay if I help you with that? Would you like me to explain what will happen first? Are you comfortable for me to assist you? Number 2, explain what, when, and why. Tell or show people what you are doing before you do it. I'm here to assist you. You let me know what you need and when you're ready. Avoid surprises, sudden moves, or loud noises. Check if the person is ready and understands what is happening. This could be a non-verbal message, like a nod or a smile. Number 3, offer choice and be supportive of strengths and resources. Would you like assistance now, or do you need some time? Which option would you prefer? I notice you can do really well. This is a great strength. I can let you carry on with that yourself. Number 4, listen and notice what matters to the person. This can change day to day, so always ask. How can I best support you today? Is there anything important I should know to make you feel more comfortable? Number 5, respect the answer. This means ensuring an older person's right to dignity and choice. Accept preferences expressed and take notice of feedback, verbal and non-verbal. You must presume the older person can make their own decisions, unless there is a formal appointed decision maker in place. Registered supporters, carers and others do not have the right to make decisions for older people in their own care. Recognise that people may need accessible information, interpreters or translated information, more time to decide, or they may prefer a non-verbal prompt. These details should be expressed in a person's care plan and must be updated with consent. Number 6, be dependable. Do what you say you will do. Being dependable is a way to build trust and connection and is an important trauma-aware way to work.
As you may be aware, all older people receiving Commonwealth-funded aged care are entitled to care that is rights-based, person-centred, safe, inclusive, and trauma-aware and healing-informed. Everyone has the right to be treated with dignity and respect and to live free from any form of discrimination. Everyone's identity, culture, and diversity should be valued and supported. Rights are the foundation of the New Aged Care Act. These rights help ensure that older people and their needs are at the centre of their care. The New Aged Care Act includes a statement of rights and a statement of principles. The Statement of Rights outlines the rights that all older people have when accessing aged care services, community or residential. The Statement of Rights also outlines that care should be accessible and delivered in a way that is culturally safe, culturally appropriate, trauma-aware and healing-informed. This continues the sector's commitment to supporting the diversity of each individual, including a range of diverse communities and groups. Following the Statement of Rights is the Statement of Principles, which further reinforces the message that Commonwealth-funded aged care is required to put older people first, treat each person as unique individuals, and recognise their rights under the Statement of Rights. The Statement of Principles again highlights the need to provide services that are accessible, culturally safe and appropriate, and that are trauma-aware and healing-informed, regardless of a person's location, background, or life experiences. It specifically outlines a range of diverse communities and groups to support and recognise the barriers or inequities that some communities may experience accessing aged care. These communities or groups are listed here on the screen. Their explicit mention within the Act in the Statement of Principles acknowledges older people from these communities or groups may face extra barriers accessing care. It recognises that many of these groups and individuals will have been impacted by traumatic life experiences related to their marginalisation or minoritisation, which might also negatively affect their ageing and aged care experiences. The strengthened aged care quality standards requires services to demonstrate actions to both understand and meet the needs of each individual accessing care, which includes people from diverse backgrounds and with diverse life experiences, and provide trauma-aware and healing-informed care. In 2022, the aged care sector introduced My Aged Care Specialisation Verification Framework, a process where aged care services can be independently verified as meeting the needs of diverse communities through a range of actions. Once verified, services can display this tick and achievement on their My Aged Care portal, enabling people from diverse communities to identify and find services with an understanding of and a commitment to their needs. As we've mentioned, this session will focus on one of the communities included in the Aged Care Act, older LGBTI+ people. We hope this will help you understand their experiences and help you confidently provide person-centred, inclusive, trauma-aware care. Did you know that older LGBTI people have been part of the Aged Care Act since 2012, when the previous Aged Care Act was amended to include older LGBTI people as a special needs group? While we no longer use the term special needs group, older LGBTI+ people remain within the new Aged Care Act. This inclusion in the previous Act was the result of research that happened in the early 2000s, which identified the experiences and barriers that many older LGBTI people faced when accessing aged care services. That research painted a picture of a community that feared ageing and aged care and had real concerns about experiencing discrimination again in aged care environments due to their past experiences. Having an understanding of some of these experiences can help us provide person-centred care that is safe and inclusive, and importantly now, trauma aware. Let's look at these histories and experiences now. To be aware of the way that trauma might affect the lives of many older LGBTI+ people now, it is important to have an understanding of their histories and experiences. It is well recognised that many older LGBTI Australians have lived through periods of extraordinary social stigma, discrimination, exclusion and abuse within their lifetimes. Understanding these experiences can help us be aware of their traumatic impacts later in life for some older LGBTI+ people. Did you know that historically in Australia, LGBTI+ people experience widespread social stigma and discrimination from every aspect of society? This included very limited rights right up until late in the 20th century and beyond. Let's explore some of this. There was criminalisation. Gay men could have been locked up or received a criminal conviction. Some people were forced to undergo medical and psychiatric interventions and practices against their will. You could have been fired or had limited employment choices or opportunities if someone found out. It was commonplace for families, friends, and communities, schools, social clubs, and more to reject you, exclude you, or make you wrong. Disapproval also came from religious institutions, and there was often refusal of services, or sometimes they received a lesser standard of service or care, and this included health and care services. There were barriers in place by financial institutions, legal constraints regarding inheritances and wills, lack of relationship value or recognition, and much, much more. And with exclusion, disapproval, and being made wrong from every part of society, there was also overt discrimination in the form of abuse and violence. So many older LGBTI+ people now accessing or needing aged care services have lived a large part of their lives where they had very limited supports or rights and experienced significant discrimination. And this continues to impact them now, including their health and well-being as they age, and their knowledge of and confidence to access aged care services. It's important to know that not all older LGBTI+ people accessing your service will disclose. For many, disclosure may not have always resulted in punishment or disapproval, but it was rarely celebrated. Many older LGBTI+ people accessing your service will make a risk assessment and may choose not to tell you. It is important that services clearly communicate welcome and inclusion to LGBTI+ people and not wait for disclosure to implement inclusive care and actions. LGBTI+ person-centred care understands older LGBTI+ people, communicates welcome and inclusion through demonstrated actions regardless of disclosure. And just as social and legal change began occurring in Australia for LGBTI+ people in the late 70s and 80s, the community was impacted by the AIDS and HIV epidemic. From the first death in Australia in 1983 to September 1996, approximately 16,000 people were diagnosed with HIV, 7,000 were diagnosed with AIDS, and over 5,000 died from AIDS-related causes before effective treatments arrived in the mid-1990s. While the AIDS epidemic saw the rainbow community come together and unite, developing pioneering services and community-led responses, the significant traumatic impact and legacy on the community cannot be underestimated, and particularly with the current ageing cohort. For many older LGBTI+ people now, The messages and narratives around ageing and aged care have largely been negative, with an emphasis on fear rather than empowerment and support, something that can also contribute to their trauma. The fear of aged care and focus on negative experiences continues to dominate the minds of many older LGBTI+ people, making them even more hesitant to access services. Unfortunately, the aged care sector's rights-based inclusive commitments, policies and requirements have not been widely communicated or understood, and even though more inclusive actions are needed from providers, rights-based person-centred aged care needs to be promoted to support empowered ageing. Understanding the different and sometimes challenging experiences that many people and communities have had and the way they might continue to impact their lives now can help us provide safer, more welcoming and inclusive services that are trauma aware and healing informed. The range of past experiences that we shared may continue to impact older LGBTI+ people now. It is important to know that just like experiences can be individual, trauma and responses to trauma can be individual and personal too. So what might trauma look like now? What are some of the things you might identify when working with or supporting an older LGBTI+ client? Here's some examples to consider. Many older LGBTI+ people might avoid accessing care altogether, even though they've been assessed or services have been recommended and sometimes started. This might be related to past experiences of service exclusion or refusal, or receiving a lesser standard of care. It could also be related to their negative perceptions of mainstream aged care and an expectation of discrimination. Or once receiving care, they might cancel care with no explanation or reason. For many older LGBTI+ people, there were few protections throughout their lives. One protection was concealment, being careful who they told or disclosed to, and the other was their home. Home provided a safe place where they could shut out the discrimination from the outside world. So needing to have services come into the home to provide services and care might create fear, anxiety, or trauma. There might also be significant fear around disclosure of their identity, relationships, and for those living with HIV, their HIV status. Again, related to past experiences and the fact that concealment for many provided some protections. Sharing their story and life experiences might also be traumatic, something that should be considered at onboarding or around creating life experiences or reminiscences, something that we do in social support programs sometimes. Understanding that some older people may have had past experiences that might be difficult to recount and share, or possibly also outing them, could be distressing and re-traumatizing now. There may also be reluctance or resistance to participate in shared service environments, even if there's a need due to social isolation. This is because not all people are welcoming and inclusive of older LGBTI+ people. For many older LGBTI+ people, concealment was their only protection against discrimination and abuse. So needing to edit themselves in a shared environment like a social support program might create anxiety and trauma. It's important to communicate both organisational and sector requirements to everyone regarding rights-based person-centred care that values and supports diversity and inclusion, which helps create safer service experiences for everyone.
Reflection or reflective practice is always part of learning and embedding new information and skills. You may recall a time in your work where you thought you were carrying out a very routine activity or task, and a person became upset, angry, or withdrawn. Perhaps you'd forgotten to seek permission first. Perhaps they were feeling rushed, or you made them feel out of control and therefore reminded them of how they'd felt in the past. Remember that trauma responses for people can show up when they least expect it and may be totally unrelated to what their experience of trauma was in the past. It is more that the reminder of how their experience of trauma made them feel, and that feeling is triggered by our rushing or touching a person or their things without asking first. A trauma-aware approach encourages us to consider: this person may be reacting or being reminded by a past trauma, rather than, what's wrong with this person now? And one more thing, mind your language. Trauma awareness helps us to see behaviour differently. Without trauma awareness, workers may mistakenly label or even document how an older person responds to care, such as, the client is non-compliant, or they're resistant to care. They have challenging behaviour. They are difficult. They're disengaged. They are a no-show. These words matter. Trauma-aware workers avoid judgmental labels and instead focus on ensuring safety and dependability, dignity, choice, and control through respectful relationships. Trauma awareness is the first step toward creating aged care services where older people feel physically, emotionally, and psychologically safe, respected, and heard, and empowered in their care. It is not just good practice, it is our obligation. A final recap of some key takeaways from this session. Trauma awareness supports service access, sense of safety and respect, and dignified care for all older people, and also for you and your well-being as a worker. Trauma awareness is an explicit extension of how we understand and deliver person-centred care in every interaction. Many older LGBTI+ people have experienced and can continue to experience trauma as a result of social stigma and discrimination in their lives. Doing what you say you will do, that is, being dependable, builds trust and a feeling of safety. Always ask permission with every interaction. There is a range of additional information, training and resources and supports available to further build your knowledge and support good practice. See the attached document provided along with this session.
So, what else can you do? You might not know all the answers, but being aware of the way trauma might impact someone's access and experiences of care can help provide better care and support. Think about how trauma might also impact different people and communities. Perhaps access some resources or attend some training about diverse communities. See the accompanying resource list or more information on the VELS YouTube page. Understanding different experiences and their impacts on older people can help us also provide better care. If you have the chance, attend VELS Rainbows Don't Fade with Age, LGBTI Aging and Aged Care Awareness Training. It's free and there's an online session each month. Find out more on VELS website or on the resource page. You can sign up to VELS e-news. We will be developing some case studies soon to further build your knowledge about trauma awareness and older LGBTI+ people. And there's lots of resources and training available focusing specifically on trauma awareness in older people. See the accompanying resource page and the YouTube page for more information. Thank you for watching this session. We hope the information we've shared has given you a better understanding of trauma awareness and also how it might relate to older LGBTI+ people. If you would like to access any of the additional resources to support your understanding and develop further knowledge about trauma, trauma awareness, your sector requirements, and working with older LGBTI+ people, please refer to the accompanying resource list or links on the VELS YouTube page. Please also feel free to contact us. Thanks again.